Hi, Mike here. You're watching Yukon Scout Restoration. This video is about the 152 Comanche engine cylinder head installation with bonus oil pump installation. This is not a how-to video. It's a how I do video. I hope you like it. Let's get to work. If you want to help, please subscribe to Yukon Scout Restoration. It's free. Mike Morrow, over and out. Installing the cylinder head dowels. I'm using metal lube engine assembly grease. This stuff is really sticky. And what I do is I turn the engine over, and every time the cam lobe is up, I apply a little bit to the top of the cam lobe with a little paintbrush, and then I put it on the bottom of the new lifter because it's a new camshaft and new lifters, and break-in is critical. The first 20 minutes this engine runs, it's critical break-in. It has to run at 2,000, 2,500 RPM for 20 minutes to break the cam in. If you don't run it fast enough, the cam doesn't get enough lube, and it'll wear the lobes of the cam flat, and you'll have a dog of an engine. So this is critical stuff I'm putting on these camshaft lobes and the bottom of the lifters. Let's get to work. When the lobe is up, I just put a little bit of this metal lube engine assembly grease oil on the tip of the lobe. And then I'm just turning the engine until the next lobe comes up. I put some of this milling engine assembly lube on the other lobe. Now I have a lifter that I've soaked overnight in ATF. First I'll try it in the lifter bar. Make sure it turns freely. It does. I'll just give the lifter a little wipe on the bottom. Put a liberal amount of this metal lube. It's very sticky. It'll stay on there for a long time. There's one lifter, another lifter. That's it for number one cylinder. I'll just do the same thing for the other cylinders. I'm just checking all the head bolt holes to make sure they're all blind holes. If a hole went into a water jacket, I would have to put thread sealer on the bowl. I'm just wiping the top of the block with some a paper towel. I'm spraying it with brake clean just to degrease it a bit. And I'll do the same thing with the cylinder head. The head gasket goes with the writing up. The gasket surfaces must be super clean, free of oil, grease, and any other contaminants. Just very carefully get the head on the dowels. There we go. I'm dipping the head bolts in engine oil because you can't get an accurate torque on a dry bolt. Just drop them in there. The torque spec is 90 to 100 foot-pounds. So I'm going to start with 25. Then I'm going to jump up to 50. think I'll just jump up to 80 now. 90 foot-pounds. Okay. Final torque, 100. There, everything's at 100. No spongy head bolts. That's great. But that'll get checked again before the job's done, and they'll get retorqued when the engine's hot also. For the time being, I'm just going to put the valve cover on temporarily with 6 5/16 slotted screws. So, surprise, surprise. I made the mistake of assuming that the machine shop had run a tap through these 5/16 course holes for the valve cover. Well, I guess they didn't, because the bolts are not going in there very well. So what I'm going to do is tap those holes, blow them out, run a die over the bolts, and clean the bolt heads. So in the meantime, I've shrink wrapped this engine in case a little piece of metal or something falls into the lifter bores here. The valve cover bolts were bottoming out because there's a lot of junk in the bolt holes. Voila! The threads are good. No. So I put a very thin coat of Permatex red high temp gasket maker on the oil pan. Now I'm setting the gasket on there, putting all the bolts in backwards. Just let that dry. No, there's no silicone oozing out from between the gasket and the pan. We'll put a little bit of Permatex aviation former gasket on both sides of these oil pump gaskets. A little bit of brake clean on here. Very carefully insert this oil pump drive into the distributor bushing. Just take a little screwdriver here, line things up properly. 3 5/16 bolts. This is a brand new oil pump. I will now torque the mounting bolts to 16 foot-pounds. Before I install the suction on the oil pump, I'm just pumping the oil pump full of oil, and as I do this, I can turn the shaft. Keep pumping oil in there. This is the oil pickup. Put a new O-ring, lubricated the O-ring. Just hold it in and tighten the bolt. That's probably 20 foot-pounds. Check all the other bolts for tight. Everything's tight. These ones are torqued. So we torque the mains, torque the rods, oil pump is installed, almost ready to install the oil pan. I'm putting new lock washers on these pan bolts, but because they're new lock washers, you can see they're not squished. And you can't tighten them up enough maybe to squish them because of the cork gasket. So I'm squishing them all with a pair of pliers first. The 2 screws at the rear center our 1/4 inch national course Phillips head. So I'll now tighten the pan bolts just a little bit. A big mistake a lot of people make is they tighten them up too much, and then it ends up leaking. But one good thing about this pan is it's reinforced all the way around, so the holes won't get stretched. The way I like to tighten these pan bolts is I like to use a nut driver, and I just tighten it down. I keep my eye on the gasket, and I go around like that. And I just tighten them up till I see the gasket start to squish, and that's tight enough. The drain plug on this engine is 1 1/8. Snug that up, 1 1/8. So prior to installing the timing cover, I've checked every hole, and they're all blind holes. Just have to be careful because any bolts that go into a water jacket must have thread sealant. These bolts I will dip in oil. I will just gently run them in with a nut driver. Gotta leave it loose because I have to put the bolts from the oil pan to here in also. I have to leave them loose to center it because so they're not tight at all. And there's 4 more oil pan bolts that go in from the bottom. And to center the timing cover, just simply lubricate everything. You're supposed to torque that, but I know my impact. 4 more bolts go from the oil pan into the timing cover. Get them started. Same thing. Watch the gasket. See it squish. I'm just using a nut driver with a paper towel on it because my hands are slippery. These other bolts are not a cork gasket, so I will torque them. I forgot to mention, this is the timing cover that I heated to get the pipe out. And I checked it with a straight edge, and I checked everywhere for heat damage, and it's straight and it's good, but I forgot to make a video of that. The torque on the timing cover is 16 foot-pounds. I'm just going to do it gradually. We're going for 16 foot-pounds. Yeah, start in the middle now. 16. 16. Down one. Up one. Down one. Up one. I'll go in the middle. These will get checked again, but they look pretty good. The timing cover is centered. The bottom bolts through the oil pan are tight, and I'm torquing the cover bolts to 16 foot-pounds. In conclusion, the cylinder head, oil pump, oil pan, timing cover, and valve cover have been installed. My next video will be engine number 5. 152 Comanche valve train installation. I hope you like it. If you want to help, please subscribe to Yukon Scout Restoration. It's free. Mike Morrow, over and out.